Spiritual dependence. Doctrines of faith and compulsion. Wage or punishment. People become spiritually dependent if they allow themselves to be forced by fellow human beings into a school of thought which demands that they accept its teachings without contradiction, which therefore deprives the human being of his spiritual freedom. Men should certainly take note of it, however, be allowed to utilize every teaching offered to him without compulsion. He is to remain uninfluenced and decide completely freely for or against this teaching. Spiritual freedom must not be touched, and man remains in spiritual freedom as long as he is not influenced in any direction through coercion or threats to decide. As soon as he is threatened with temporal or eternal punishments, his decision is already unfavorably influenced insofar as that he makes it driven by fear, and then it is invalid before God. The effect of the right as well as the wrong earth change is certainly to be made clear to man, but the expression punishment or reward is never allowed to be used for it, but it must be made clear to him that it is in his power to form the life on the other side beautiful or unbearable, that he himself therefore determines the state in eternity through his walk of life. That he can create incomparably glorious things for himself, but that he can also prepare a poor, agonizing fate for himself through his will, but that his fate in the hereafter is never a punishment or a reward imposed on him by God. For he should never strive upwards for the sake of reward, just as the fear of punishment must never determine his will and action. But as soon as now man's thoughts are so directed through faith teachings that he leads his life under a certain compulsion, that he therefore only carries out prescribed actions or also works of love because they are so to speak made a duty for him, because their omission is put down as sin, which earns him punishment in eternity. If he seeks to gain a reward in eternity by carrying out such actions, then his actions are no longer to be regarded as free will. The human being is rather in a spiritual dependence which lets him fulfill according to the rules what is to be done of his own accord, without fear of punishment and without hope of reward. Man is always to consider that he is in an unredeemed state, out of which he is to and also can free himself, when he has the will for it, that he himself forms his lot in eternity, but that God never imposes punishment on him or rewards him for what he is to do or leave for his own redemption. God leaves man fullest freedom, and punishment or reward would already be a curtailment of freedom for the will of man. He himself forms his lot according to his will, and only that is to be put before his eyes that earth life has an effect in eternity, so that he does not live determined in his acting and wanting through threat of temporal or eternal punishments. Love is not to be awakened through any kind of compulsion. It must develop in the heart and drive the man to everything what he thinks and does. Then the will remains free, and his acting and thinking has value before God. Amen.